In 1818, the English Romantic poets Percy Shelley and Horace Smith took up a friendly competition to each write a sonnet on the same theme. Out of this friendly challenge came Shelley's most famous poem, known simply as Ozymandias, which has nothing to do with any particularly Aussie man. The poem records the tale of a traveller to an antique land who reports seeing in the Egyptian desert ruins of a great statue with an inscription nearby which reads, "My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair." The irony of the poem, however, is exposed in Shelley's next lines. Nothing beside remains. Round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away. The verses then serve as a reminder of the impermanence of worldly power, critiquing the long reign of George III, whose empire had lost North America but gained Australia. Shelley insists, contrary to the fantasy of the coronation anthems, that no king lives forever, and every king's works eventually turn to dust. Indeed, the other poem, Ozymandias, written by his friend Horace Smith, goes one step further, imagining a future in which a hunter chances upon the ruins of London. Our cities and projects too will one day join those of long-forgotten Ozymandias. Our first reading and psalm today might be thought to reflect just the kind of ancient Near Eastern fantasy that Shelley was critiquing. Another king who subdues all peoples under his feet. And the prophet imagines a sovereignty that shall never pass away, nor will his empire be destroyed. But look again at our readings, and they're not so much like the ancient kings after all. First, it's clear this is no earthly ruler at all, but one who lives in the clouds of heaven, establishes the earth, and holds both heaven and earth in being. He is the Son of Man, made king by the Ancient of Days, God the Father. And his glory is not in his conquests, but in his trustworthy authority and his holiness. So much so that we're told every people from every nation will choose to come to serve him. This king is not looking for dread from his subjects or for stone monuments to his power. His works are not demonstrations of muscle, but of justice and mercy. At least, that seems to be hinted at here. Now fast forward a couple of centuries. "Are you the King of the Jews?" Pilate asks, half curious, half incredulous. He's close to the mark, far closer than he realises. but he can't see the king, for to recognize him would be too disruptive. He can't see the king, because any king of kings worth his salt would look like Ozymandias, king of despair, and Tiberius Caesar, Pilate's emperor. My kingdom isn't like that, Jesus tells us. So what kind of kingdom then, what kind of king is ours? Pilate, ever curious, if ever sceptical, presses him further. And Jesus, who rewards everyone who genuinely seeks an answer, gives Pilate the key to understanding. Yes, I am a king who came to bear witness to the truth, and all on the side of truth listen to my voice. To which Pilate famously answered, "Truth, what is that?" At last we see what kind of king never loses his power, what kind of kingdom never crumbles to dust. The king we celebrate today is king not because he wields mighty armies, though he has an angel host. Nor is he king because he inspires awe, though there is none more awesome. He's not king even because of his great works, though he has created the greatest work of all, the universe itself. No, this Son of Man is king because he is truth and goodness and beauty, and has bestowed on us the virtues of faith, hope and love by which to attain those perfections. This Wednesday night, the cathedral will be shrouded in red light as the facade of Westminster Abbey, representing the Christians and others martyred every year, every day, for their faith in many countries around the world. There'll be a Mass at 5:30 in this cathedral and an interfaith gathering thereafter in the crypt. All are welcome to join us. For here, as elsewhere I trust, Christian faith gives witness to a new kind of authority. One that preaches beatitudes that delight the heart, rather than issues decrees that cause people to shudder. One that communes with the wretched, rather than privileging the powerful. One that seeks to persuade and inspire, rather than threaten and force. To win hearts rather than conquer territories. To lift burdens rather than add taxes. To bring hope and life rather than terror and death. And the model of that kind of authority stands before the bar of Pilate and of this world today and declares, "My kingdom is not of this world. No, I came to bear witness to the truth, and those who listen to my voice side with the truth, and so enter into my kingdom." As Jesus stands before the court today, we are the jurors, Do we listen to his voice, side with truth and goodness and beauty, and so become citizens of his republic? As Advent approaches, Jesus stirs us up with his penetrating gaze and his breathtaking claims. But he does not ask us just to choose sides. He asks us to act. As our second reading highlighted, Jesus is not King of Kings for his own benefit. He's already the Alpha and the Omega, the first and the last, the one who has come and is still to come. He doesn't need monuments or crowns. No, Jesus is made king so he can found a royal line. He has made of us a line of kings, priests to serve his God and Father, says the Apocalypse. He has endowed us with his authority, so that it is now our responsibility under grace to build his kingdom in our hearts and lives, in our families and friendships, in our cities and countries. We all have different ways and places to contribute to building up God's kingdom. Committed lay people must extend God's kingdom into the worlds of work, money, politics, art, science, the family, study, sport, leisure, friendships, and devotions. Some do so amidst sickness, disability, imprisonment, loneliness, or loss. Others from positions of greater comfort. But it's only with such diverse contributions that the Church can be like yeast pervading the dough of our world, raising it all up to God. And two boys from our Cathedral choir raise their hands for this today. Sponsors, teachers, fellow choristers and parishioners, family and friends of our candidates, continue to support them in their new task of building up the kingdom of truth, and not falling for the allure of Ozymandian thought and might. Help them apply the gifts of the Holy Spirit in lives of Christian faith and practice, of virtue and holiness, of the worship of God and love for all. Candidates for confirmation, when I anoint you with the Spirit of truth, you can be sure that God will give you all the gifts you need to be true citizens of his kingdom. Resolve now to stand up for the truth in all you say and do, to participate in the sacred liturgy, not just with your beautiful voices, but with your hearts and minds also, to pray and confess and do good things for others. And so all of us, as we end one liturgical cycle today and begin a new year next Sunday, we should ask ourselves, which king am I following? Whose kingdom am I building? Are we proudly building for mighty Ozymandias, works that will become desert sand? Or are we building for an eternal kingdom, the reign of Christ extending into all eternity?